Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. What started as a simple story has quietly become much more complicated than anyone expected. Initially, it seemed straightforward. Two people stepping away from the pressures of the royal life for peace and privacy. That's what everyone believed at first. But now, that story doesn't feel so clear anymore. There are too many small details that don't quite fit, and people are starting to notice. And this isn't just random gossip on the internet. Experts who have spent years researching powerful public figures are digging deeper. One of the most notable is Tom Bower. Whether you agree with him or not, he doesn't just throw out opinions casually. He looks for facts, patterns, and builds solid cases. When he turned his attention to Harry and Meghan, people sat up and took notice. What interested him wasn't just the drama everyone knows in public. It was how their story was controlled and shaped from the beginning, especially around the birth of their son, Archie. That's when things started to seem a bit off. Here's what happened. The palace announced in the afternoon that Meghan had gone into labor. It was a big deal, and excitement spread. But just hours later, news came out that Archie had actually been born early that morning. That's an 8-hour difference, a big enough gap to raise questions. Why say labor was just starting when the baby was already born? This isn't about protecting privacy. It feels like managing the story to control how it's told. This is a kind of detail that made people like Tom Bower ask tougher questions. Royal births don't happen casually. They follow strict rules with official doctors, signed documents, and careful record-keeping to confirm everything, especially because these details affect the line of succession. But with Archie, much of that usual process seemed missing or unclear. That brings us to an old but important rule called the birthright rule. It's not just tradition. Legally, a child must be born physically by the mother to be included in the royal line. So when the birth details are unclear or records are missing, naturally, questions arise that I'm not suggesting anything wild. But when basic facts aren't clear, people start to guess, and the lack of transparency from Harry and Meghan hasn't helped. Then there's the way the couple presents their children to the public. When you compare how Prince William and Kate show their kids, George, Charlotte, Louis, they're out at events, seen with family, living a fairly normal royal life. It looks natural, but with Archie and Lilibet, it's very different. Photos are rare, carefully controlled, and often don't even show their faces well. It feels less like sharing family moments and more like a carefully planned brand launch. I get wanting privacy. I really do. But when it's as tightly controlled, it starts to feel less about protecting the kids and more about managing how the public sees them. Their move to California hasn't exactly been low profile either. Living the Montecito lifestyle, big homes, private security, constant travel, it costs a lot. And while they landed huge deals initially, with Netflix, Spotify, and books, not everything has gone smoothly. Spotify cut ties with them publicly and sharply. Netflix is still hanging on, but there's pressure to keep producing content that IT feels like now they need to keep the public interested, mostly because of their royal connection. This puts Harry in a tough spot. He left that life to escape the spotlight, but now seems to need it to keep his career going. And people close to him say he's changed. He's not the relaxed guy he once was. Instead, he's constantly online, reading everything, caught up in all the noise. The irony here, the man who stepped back to escape media pressure is now surrounded by it, just in a different way. Meanwhile, Meghan approaches things very differently. Whenever issues get loud, whether about the kids or the birth story, the response isn't to clear things up but to shut down conversations. Legal threats, warnings, and pressure are used to silence critics. The strategy might work in the short term but often backfires. When people don't get answers, they don't forget. They get more curious. And when the reaction is legal action instead of openness, it looks like there's something to hide, even if that's not true. Perception often outpaces reality. Honestly, if everything was straightforward, wouldn't it be easier to just share those moments? A simple, unfiltered photo with King Charles and the kids or a clear timeline would calm most of the noise. But none of that has happened. The longer it drags on, the bigger the story grows. Then there's Harry's inner circle. This is where it gets sad. In the UK, he had military friends and people who knew him before all of this, those who kept him grounded. Now, that circle looks very different. It's mostly made up of PR staff, advisors, media people, and celebrity contacts. Those relationships are tied to work and image strategy. They are not the kind of friendships you lean on when life gets complicated. Losing that original, real support makes it easy to live inside a bubble where everyone just agrees with your current story. Without honest outside perspectives, it's easy to lose touch with how the world really sees things. At the same time, the royal family has clearly stepped back, especially King Charles. This isn't accidental. It looks like a deliberate choice to keep some distance, avoid being pulled into messy questions, and keep this separate from the core monarchy. For them, this isn't just family drama. It's about keeping the whole system stable. The monarchy is based on tradition, structure, and the public's trust that if there are unanswered questions about something as important as lineage, they won't jump into that conversation without clear facts. Right now, Harry and Meghan are in a strange spot. Still technically royal, but also completely outside the system. It's an odd place to be. Honestly, the people I feel worse for in all of this are Archie and Lilibet. They didn't choose any of this. They are growing up in a very controlled world, far from family, away from cousins, missing the normal family moments royal kids usually have. It's a heavily curated life. Maybe it's for protection, maybe it's to control the story. Either way, it creates distance, not just from the public, but within their own family. Think about it. Growing up without those shared family moments and that strong sense of belonging can shape a person's view of the world later on. Looking at the big picture, this whole situation feels less like a clean break for freedom and more like a tough trade-off. Harry and Meghan left one system but entered another with its own pressures. And as time goes on, keeping everything balanced is only getting harder. This story isn't slowing down. If anything, it's heating up. The questions have moved beyond casual blogs to serious investigations into financial records, timelines, and details that good PR can't erase. Take Meghan's early days in Toronto. Before Harry, she was already mixed up with influential circles, Soho House, high-profile networks, and people who understood media and power. Those kinds of connections haven't changed that much even now. So, you wonder, was this exit from royal life sudden, or something that had been planned for a long time? Looking at how smoothly she stepped into media deals and brand building, it feels very much planned. But here's the challenge. Their plan only works if the public keeps paying attention. And right now, that attention is shifting from interest to scrutiny. The Montecito lifestyle doesn't come cheap. When deals like Spotify fall apart publicly, it affects how people see them. Netflix is still in play, but it comes with pressure. They have to keep delivering content people want. This is perhaps their biggest challenge. If they stay away from royal-related topics, people lose interest. But if they keep focusing on their royal ties, the drama continues. It's a cycle they can't seem to break. They do public speaking, tours, and events designed to build their image, but sometimes the reaction is more critical than supportive. Australia, for example, was tougher than expected. People question the value and honesty behind the events. When your whole income depends on your reputation, that shift is risky. Meanwhile, inside royal circles, quiet conversations happen that we don't see. Protocols, rules, and legal matters don't just vanish because times change. The monarchy still relies on these structures. If questions about records or proof remain unanswered, those systems push for answers. This part is often overlooked. This isn't just about headlines. It's about history, documents, and records that last long after public opinion fades. Right now, there are gaps, big or small, and that keeps the story alive. Silence isn't working the way it used to. In the past, quiet would calm things down. Now, it fuels more theories and curiosity. Every legal move adds fuel to the fire. At some point, Harry and Meghan will have to choose, keep control or try clarity. Continuing on this path risks more than just public opinion. It risks their credibility. And once that starts to slip, it's tough to get it back. The royal family watches all this from a distance, not reacting openly but definitely paying attention. King Charles and Prince William know what's at stake. Their current game plan seems clear. Protect the monarchy first and deal with everything else later. So, what we have now is a strange and tense situation. Harry and Meghan are building their own world, but it's still tied closer to the one they stepped away from. And that tension doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. Personally, I think this could have been handled better from the start. More honesty, less tight control over every detail, and much of this mess could have been avoided. But now, every move they make is examined from all angles. The truth is, people aren't asking for everything. They just want something consistent and real, not something that feels manufactured. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Harry and Meghan anymore. It's about trust. Once that trust comes into question, it becomes a main story no matter how much you try to change the subject. So, what's the real choice? Do they open up and clear the air, or do they hold tight to control and let speculation keep growing? Either way, the road ahead isn't simple.